has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast. It's Ferrall on the bench, coast to coast, in the biggest way possible, hanging out the bad seed, the broken, the bad apple with a bad attitude. We are live in New York City, the Big Apple. Ooh, people dressed in plastic bags, directing traffic, some kind of fashion shake-it-up, oh, woo, woo, shadooba. Along with the Tutty and Tater King himself, the founder of the Owl Seed podcast, the rights holder of the Sheet of Integrity, and the Put It With the Golf guru, Carver. Hi this afternoon, ladies. Mafia is running it along with Luke, I am your father. The rundown on a terrible towel Tuesday, a double shot with Morency this very hour from Montreal. Again, he's performing live this week in Montreal Thursday night and another concert Saturday night with Homicide, his heavy metal band. Also, within the walls of this first hour, Mike DeCourcy, the famed scribe from the Sporting News. And then in the final hour of love, Smiley time. Smiley Kaufman will join Carver High. And we'll also allegedly speak with comedian Jim Florentine. You may have seen him on That Metal Show. You may have seen him do stand-up. You may hear him on Sirius XM. He does a great show on there as well, spinning metal songs. Ozzy Osbourne died today at 76. So we'll have Jim on, who went to his last show with Black Sabbath in Birmingham, England, a couple of weeks ago. His final performance live, sitting in that chair. He didn't look good, did he? And he's gone today, 76, a legend. And certainly, Mike, a rock and roll heavy metal icon, died of Parkinson's disease today. A lot of people know him from the Osbourne show. And strangely enough, his daughter got engaged at that concert. So he saw her get engaged, and then he passes a couple of weeks later. That was stunning news today out of left field, that I saw that just moments ago, that he had passed away today.
Was stunning news, Scotty, here on a Tuesday, of course, from the rock and roll world. And, for us, it's, that's our music. That Ozzy was a huge influencer on so many of the acts that we have listened to over the last 30, 40 years plus. I was thinking back when the news came down about a half an hour ago, whatever it was, and I was like, I know I've seen him a bunch of times, but I was trying to remember the first time I saw Ozzy, and I was able to pinpoint it, I believe, to the Ozfest 97 that summer, because Pantera played with on the Ozfest that year with him, and I saw Pantera so many times in the late 90s that I'm pretty sure it was Ozfest 97, because Typo Negative was there and a couple of other bands when I went and looked at who was on the bill that year. So Ozfest, and I saw him probably 10, 15 times after that, but man, unbelievable loss to the rock world, Scotty, with Ozzy Osbourne going on 76, right? What did you say, 76?
Yeah, 76. I saw him at least 10 times. I saw him even in the 80s. I saw him in Pittsburgh in the 80s. I saw him at the Civic Arena, believe it or not, at the Igloo. I saw Ozzy Osbourne. So, and I've seen him in stadium concerts and whatever else. But it's amazing to me that, he obviously has that Boneyard channel at Sirius XM, where I worked for a long time doing the Howard Stern channels, Howard 101. And, he was there all the time, frequently doing interviews and stuff. And, we were around him and saw him. And he was just a funny old guy. He was a trip, and he was very bizarre. And if you've ever listened to his interviews with his friends on Sirius XM, they're the funniest things you ever heard in your life. Like, the guy was just a complete wacko.
Complete wacko. And it's funny you say that, because I saw a guy that I know who covers the Islanders was saying it was tweeted out the first time he remembers seeing him. And it was in the mid-'80s, probably around the same time that you did. And he said Motley Crue opened for Ozzy. It was Ozzy and Motley Crue, and that just shows you how much it spans, right? he played with all those bands in the 70s and 80s, and then in his later years, playing with bands like System of a Down and all these other, in his later years, he spanned so long in the rock metal world that he was involved in so many acts from over 3-4 decades. So it's pretty wild when you think about it. I love that Ozfest, man. I went probably 3 or 4 years in a row.
Like if you listen to that channel, which I do, and I have a lot of friends that work on the channel, including Jim and Jose Mangan and all these people, Cavino, all these guys. They play Ozzy and Sabbath songs religiously, like every hour of the day, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. If you listen to that channel, you will hear Ozzy and Sabbath songs every single hour of your life, to the point of you're drowning in it. Like, it is just, this guy has performed, let's just face facts. Whether you like it or not, Ozzy Osbourne was an institution and a legend, and he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice. He's just a guy that everyone's heard of, even little kids. I mean, it's the craziest thing you ever seen. I almost fell over today when I saw he passed. Yeah. I remember I did a podcast about him, Mafia remembers, where I'd had enough of Ozzy. After 50 years of listening to him, I'd had enough. I couldn't take any more Ozzy. And now I feel horrible. I did that podcast during COVID. I think I did that podcast where I made fun of Ozzy. He just won't stop performing.
I'm glad they got that show in, though, 2 weeks ago before he passed away, because I watched a lot of clips of that. That was a who's who of the history of metal. I mean, everybody was at that thing. There were no egos. Everyone played like 15 minutes, 20 minutes tops, got off, the next group game. Everybody just wanted to be able to say that they shared the stage with him in that final day. It was unbelievable. Even guys like Metallica, who you know the guys in Metallica, like even they were like, 15 minutes and off. Like, they're such an enormous name for them to just like play the same amount of time as everybody else, make sure they get in and out for Ozzy. I'm glad they got that in before he unfortunately passed.
It was really cool. And then, Jim went with Jim Norton, another guy I know. Yeah. And they went and covered it for Sirius. And I just thought, like, I saw a lot of their videos over in England. Those two clowns, they're the funniest guys ever. And they went over there and just raised hell and went to that show. And, like, he's I talked to him today. He seemed pretty devastated by it. So I was like, "Are you all right?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm all right." And I'm like, "Come on the show and talk about him." So we'll have, hopefully that'll work out. We'll get him on later today.
And obviously we'll do what we always do. We've got lots of baseball today. The Brewers are red hot, 11 in a row.
I watched that game last night, Mike.
Did you?
Oh, yeah. I got back from basketball, and I watched the entire game in Seattle from scratch. Your boy Kirby's Dreamland had a no-hitter going in the 6th, and then they got 6 straight hits and put 4 on him, and they beat him 6-0. I watched the game. It was pretty cool.
Yankees can't beat the Jays. Some more awful defense out in the field for them. Everybody's playing again tonight in Major League Baseball.
Good.
NFL camps, 26 teams reported today for NFL camps. Trey Hendrickson not going to be in Cincinnati. We'll give you the rest of the camp news. ACC and Big Ten media weeks starting today as well. Very, very busy. There's lots of things going on.
Yeah, I saw the Buckeyes coach Ryan Day get interviewed. He's Mr. Personality.
Yeah.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
New to social casinos? You're in for a treat. Most online casinos offer bonus cash or coins just for signing up. That's your own little participation trophy. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Aaron Judge is great, but if you want to talk about full contributions to a team, maybe I'm biased as a former catcher myself, but I think Cal Raleigh's working a little bit harder than everybody else, and I think Cal Raleigh should be right in this thing. If he sets that single season home run record for a catcher, I think that's probably what it's going to take for him to overtake Judge. I don't think it's impossible for him to get there. I think it's unlikely.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
The tennis players are just the worst. They're just the worst.
I do that after I get a parlay. I'm falling to the ground. I'm excited. I'm like praising the Lord. Win a parlay. Come on. We're allowed to celebrate.
I'd rather, it's okay if you hit a parlay, yes. But if you win the match, no. The player can't do that. The bettor can. It's as simple as that.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
TJ Watt going to the bench.
I don't remember the last time he had a sack in the last month of that season. And then in the playoffs, he did absolutely nothing. And then you're going to give him $41 million a year, $123 million, what, 108 million guaranteed?
Ferrall coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
Well, of all people to talk about this guy's passing at his big week out in Montreal and Quebec, Morency's band Homicide playing Thursday night and Saturday night on tour again after all these years. Just a little older, not grayer though. You see no gray there. He's a very handsome fella. What did you think today when you saw the news that Ozzy Osbourne had died weeks after his show in Birmingham with Black Sabbath in his final appearance and final performance?
That's the first thing I thought of, actually, was the show from a couple of weeks ago, that they were able to do it. That, fortunately, it was almost, destiny, so to speak, right? That he wasn't taken days before that show, the day of the show, or he was unable to perform that day. And it also, I think, puts in light, Scott, just how good of a performer he actually was, right? I mean, listen, at this point, he was almost like, zombie-like, in the sense of they'd prop him up, they'd put him in a stool, and they'd hope for the best. And yet, whenever the lights came on, it was amazing how he would remember the words to the songs, at this stage of his life. And to pull it off and to do the show a couple of weeks ago, I thought of the guys in the band as well. Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, Bill Ward. Now they're alone for real. Ronnie James Dio's gone. Ozzy's gone. Right, the end of the era as far as Black Sabbath is concerned comes to an end. Unless they get a new singer and they decide to go out with one last. I don't think they're going to do that though. I wouldn't expect them to do that. Well, Tony Iommi has a solo record coming out because he can still play. He's still the guy's just a master of metal. So he's got a solo record coming up, and pretty cool as well. Remember in the old days, Scott, you'd have a lot of rock movies in the theaters. AC/DC, Let There Be Rock. The song remains the same. Pink Floyd, The Wall was massive, etc. And bands started doing live concerts. It was a big movie, Queen Rocks Montreal. I was actually at the show in 1981. They played 2 nights. They made a famous movie. It was in the theaters, etc. Awesome stuff. So they announced this past week that it's gonna be in theaters. The final Black Sabbath concert. They're putting together a 2-hour package of the whole day and the bands and behind the scenes stuff, and they're going to put it in theaters, which I think is going to be pretty cool, pretty nostalgic. But Ozzy, you know, Scott, he wasn't a great like vocalist per se, right? Like Rob Halford's a great vocalist. Bruce Dickinson like has range and different levels. Ozzy didn't. Ozzy literally had like two tones, two voices, so to speak. His ballad and his heavy voice. Yet his voice was maybe the coolest sounding voice in like rock history to me. Right? Like, you know, the dude could read a phone book. Like, it was funny when he talked, right? He sounded like there's no way this guy can sing. No, you know, I was 19, this was 74. Like, you'd be like, this guy can't sing. Right. But when, you know, the sound of his voice, man, it's just like symbolic with metal. And I don't think people realize, like, he didn't write any of his songs. Like, nothing. Like, none of the words, Diary of a Madman, Crazy Train. Randy Rhoads wrote all the music.
Right,
Bob Daisley wrote.
Wild.
Yeah, Zach Wild. He always had a stud guitarist. And the guitarist would just, like, say, listen, this is what I got. Pretty cool riff. Dun, 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 dun. And Ozzy would go, no. What else you got? Dun, 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 dun. Okay, yeah. And then suddenly you have this masterpiece because Ozzy, he's almost like the painter that just put that final brush and suddenly became valuable. Without his stroke, it didn't mean anything, but he put his stroke, his genius on it, his voice. I mean, just, you know, one of the best ever to do it.
He won 5 Grammys. Sabbath's Paranoid, the best metal album of all time, according to Rolling Stone. You know, it just goes on and on. How many times did you see him?
Quite a few. Not as many as some other bands, but quite a few times. One thing I can say, Scott, like you, I've met a lot of people. Listen, I've been in the metal industry too. So, like, I've met or had on the show, you know, Motley Crue, Judas Priest, like, you know, Metallica, Pantera, whatever. You know, I've partied with Metallica. So, like, I've met a lot of different band stuff. Never met Ozzy, never interviewed Ozzy. And I found it fascinating, Scott, at the concert a couple of weeks ago, there was a picture. Axl Rose and Ozzy Osbourne.
I saw that.
And Axl Rose goes, hard to believe, but I'd never met Ozzy before. And that blew my mind. Yeah. I was like, how is that effing possible? That, like, you both live in LA, you both live in Hollywood, you're both in the metal scene, and you've both been around, like, for the last, you know, Ozzy forever and Guns N' Roses forever, and they never met before. I was blown away by that, right? So, yeah, there's a picture. So, yeah, I never met Ozzy before, but seeing him, first time I saw him, listen, I was a big fan, man. Like, you know, I was into Black Sabbath, obviously. And then Speak of the Devil, remember that live record that they had right after Randy died with Brad Gillis of Night Ranger, who's a stud guitarist, very underrated in the Ozzy tree. And then the first record with Jakey Lee. So that's when I saw them, like 1983, 84, Bark at the Moon Tour.
Right.
And I saw it again, Shot in the Dark. I saw him on a few festivals over the years. And you know what was cool, Scott? A couple of years ago, and I didn't even know he was playing, bro. I didn't even know he was playing. I was at the Buffalo Bills LA Rams season opener. Remember the year when I were at the Super Bowl? And the Rams won the Super Bowl. The following year, they opened up the season on a Thursday night against the Buffalo Bills. I went to see the football game. I didn't even know. They're like, coming up at halftime, Ozzy Osbourne. I'm like, what? I'm like, what? And comes out, same thing, like he was in a chair, but he had a cape on, so you couldn't tell. He sort of looked like he was standing, right? This is like 3 years ago type of deal. And I did a clip of it, man. I swear, Scott, I got like, 500,000 hits in like half an hour or something. Like, people were like, oh, Ozzy. So that's the last time I saw Ozzy live at the LA Rams Buffalo Bill football game, ironically.
That's crazy. So I'm having Jim Florentine on. He was at the show and met him after the show and interviewed him for Sirius. He's going to come on later today and talk about that experience. We got another shot with Morency coming up.
Your approach with Marion Hampton is, if you're going to draft him aggressively and early, you better be patient, because it might take half a season before he really takes over this backfield, and it might never happen this year, depending on how Harris performs. Gadsden and Disley so far not fantasy relevant at this time. Again, a more run-heavy offense. Hampton and Najee Harris, very intriguing, but the ADP, I think, on both of them is slightly off.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Big Fish is the best player in the WNBA. She is running away with the MVP award. Why is that? Caitlin Clark, injured. Asia Wilson, not playing at Asia Wilson level, but it's more about the fact about what's around her has been an issue. So to me, Fish is almost like the MVP because everyone else has gone down in some way, shape, or form.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I think he's on easily the back nine of his career at this point. A lot of fans I see on social media saying, "Oh, we got to sign this guy. We got to sign this guy." Something left here with Noah Fant? What gives?
I think they were ready to move on from him as a veteran, but I think Fant is like a number 2 tight end for a contender who can play a lot. I think that would interest me, and I almost been looking around trying to find a good landing spot for him, and I've settled on what if he were to go back to the Broncos and sort of back up Evan Ingram.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
I'm a little surprised that Homicide didn't perform in Birmingham with all the other metal bands that were there a couple of weeks ago. Thank God you'll be able to see him Thursday night in Montreal. What's the name of the club again?
That was a tough cut to make. That was a tough cut to make. Props to them, though, for having some, really heavy bands on the card as well. Right? They had Lamb of God. I know you're a fan of Lamb of God. They had Mastodon, Lamb of God, Pantera, obviously. So yeah, we weren't going to make that cut. The ultimate.
That's bullshit. You guys should have been in there. It's just ridiculous.
Well,
what is the name of this club you're playing at?
The Fun, which I'll send you a picture later in the week. Yeah, you should see this place. It's it's a legendary place. Everybody's played there. Nirvana, Green Day, Offspring, every metal band, etc. So it's really cool. 30 years we haven't played here. 20. I think we played here in 1998 or something. It's like 27 or whatever the hell it is. Long time we haven't played this venue, so it's going to be pretty cool that this venue's still standing. Big metal fest with a bunch of names of the bands. People ask me who we're playing with. I'm like, dude, I don't know. I can only read 2 of the names. It's all the letters and all this crazy stuff. I'm like, I really don't know, bro.
Speaking of things that haven't happened in a while, Ohtani last night. Not only I think he's the first guy since 1917 to hit a home run and give up a home run in the same inning.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. He gave up the shot to start the game. Then he hits the home run. I got an Ohtani props, got over 42.5 home runs. He's at 35 right now. You talked about it. You and I have been talking about it. The Dodgers aren't going to get their win total. It was a little ambitious to begin with. You needed a clean ride. 1 or 2 losing streaks in the season was going to it's tough to get to 104, 105. So that's probably one thing I'll say. Last thing though about that, the fact that suddenly there's a division chase going on, it'll press the Dodgers to push a little bit now. I'm expecting the Dodgers to go on a roll, Scott. It's minus 220 tonight, not in love with the price. You can run line it, I guess. That's the option to go. I think they're going to get it done. But big win for the Dodgers last night, and they need to stop the bleeding. I think they will this week. And that was some wild stuff with the catcher interference last night. That first time in forever. Since Johnny Bench, there was catcher interference without the glove.
And I hit that under because of that. The bases were loaded, and the game ended on catcher interference. It was 5 at that time with the bases loaded. So I hit the under, and so I wanted to ask you about the NFL camps opening up, all of them opening up, and it's gone, wild now. What are you looking forward to the most as we head toward another NFL season?
Well, as a Buffalo Bill fan, I guess I'm looking forward to being let down again at some point. But, as long as you have Josh Allen, the window is open, right? You figure, okay, as long as you have Josh Allen, you've got a shot. But it's almost, we talk about a lot of these teams in sports, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and these teams that are good in the regular season and they don't win in the playoffs. And eventually, it breaks their spirit. The Bills haven't had their spirit broken, but they've got to break through. At some point, Kansas, you got to beat Kansas City.
They do win in the playoffs. They just don't win the big game.
No, they don't win enough in the playoffs, though, right? It's Super Bowl or bust. Scott, this time of the year, I'm always about sort of the teams that people think are going to be bad. I'm always looking for that sort of low win total. And a low win total that I found, and I don't know if I've ever done this before. I really don't remember ever betting, Scott, on the New York Jets to go over their season win total. I like this Jet team this year, Scott. I'm a Bills fan, but I'm telling you, I didn't like the Aaron Rodgers era and Salah and all that type of stuff, but I like Aaron Glenn. They have a lot of talent. I like Justin Fields, and all I got to do is win 6 or 7 football games. I mean, hell, there's 5.5s out there if you want them. The Jets are going to win. I think the Jets are going to be more competitive than people think. I think they're going to be an 8-9 team, maybe 9-8.
So, they could literally be the surprise team in the NFL this year.
I think listen, it'd be a surprise if they're good because nobody ever believes in the Jets. But I think that
Mafia just did a gainer into the SportsGrid pool.
Who's running to the book at MetLife right now. Like I said, I haven't said this before in past years, but I like the roster. I like the culture change with Glenn. I like the fact that Justin Fields won't be looking over his shoulder every week. He knows he's the quarterback, at least for now. He's got a shot to prove himself. And the win total's light.
Tomorrow, you got to look at the NHL broadcasters rankings, and we'll talk about that tomorrow.
Your approach with Marion Hampton is, if you're going to draft him aggressively and early, you better be patient because it might take half a season before he really takes over this backfield, and it might never happen this year, depending on how Harris performs. Gadsden and Disley so far not fantasy relevant at this time. Again, a more run-heavy offense. Hampton and Najee Harris, very intriguing, but the ADP, I think, on both of them is slightly off.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Big Fish is the best player in the WNBA. She is running away with the MVP award. Why is that? Caitlin Clark, injured. Asia Wilson, not playing at Asia Wilson level, but it's more about the fact about what's around her has been an issue. So to me, Fish is almost like the MVP because everyone else has gone down in some way, shape, or form.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I think he's on easily the back 9 of his career at this point. A lot of fans I see on social media saying, we got to sign this guy. We got to sign this guy. Something left here with Noah Fant? What gives?
I think they were ready to move on from him as a veteran, but I think Fant is a number 2 tight end for a contender who can play a lot. I think that would interest me, and I almost been looking around trying to find a good landing spot for him, and I've settled on what if he were to go back to the Broncos and sort of back up Evan Ingram.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
No one would believe that the famed scribe, Mike DeCourcy of the Sporting News, has actually seen Ozzy Osbourne 37 times live in concert and 24 times with his wife. That is unbelievable, staggering. And I thought you went to a lot of NCAA basketball tournaments. That's nothing compared to your heavy metal roots, Mike. It's good to see you, of course. I want to start with this. I almost fell over last night that Paul Skeens won a baseball game with that atrocious offense of the Pirates. I have never seen a team more anemic in my life at hitting or scoring runs. Every time I watch them, they're a disaster. And 3-0 last night, literally, it was like, my birthday's next week. That was my birthday present, that they actually scored 3 runs. And that Skeens won a game with his ERA under 2. It really is unbelievable how awful they are. And he looks like a guy ready to jump off the Roberto Clemente Bridge into the river in a high current and swiftly take him down to the Ohio.
Yeah, but then he'd end up in Cincinnati. He'd have the same problem, Scott.
Right.
There's no relief on the Mississippi River Basin for a baseball player who wants to win games. Not while this ridiculous economic system is in place. You opened the door, so I'm charging through it as if I'm Jerome Bettis with a football. The absence of a salary cap, and I wrote about this in the aftermath of Tony Clark's address at the All-Star game last week in Atlanta, wherein he talked about how bad salary caps are for competition. I don't see that in any of the other leagues that have salary caps. You see lots of competition from lots of disparate markets. Kansas City's a power in the NFL. Oklahoma City just won the NBA championship. So I don't see that as being a problem in the other sports. But what I do see as a problem is how ridiculously the baseball players under this system get hosed. Scott, it's what we're talking about. Everybody thinks that a salary cap in baseball would be bad for the players. Yeah, it'd be bad for the next Bryce Harper, I guess. It'd be bad for him in some ways. But everybody would get paid in a salary cap system. And right now they're not. Scott, look, $1 million is a lot of money. I get that. But it's not a lot of money for a successful professional athlete. And right now, more than half of active current MLB players, as of last Tuesday when I did the column, more than half were making under $1 million a year. More than a third were making less than the National Hockey League minimum salary. Scott, it's the NHL. They don't have any money. They're paying their guys more than baseball is. It's a ridiculous system that's set up to benefit only the most outstanding players who have been in the league for a long time. So right now, what you have is 10% of the MLB players making 70%, more than 70% of the money that's paid to Major League Baseball players. It's not just about making Cincinnati and Pittsburgh and Baltimore competitive. It's about giving the players a fair deal.
So the rest of them get 30% of the pie?
Less than 30. It's like 28.
That's unbelievable.
It's astonishing that it's gone on this long while everybody pretends that talks about baseball, that the MLB union is so strong. Yeah, strong for, again, the guy who gets that $500 million contract, strong for Shohei Ohtani. It works out great for him. But Paul Skeens, who we just mentioned, is the number 1 pick in the 2023 MLB draft. He'll finish his second season at the end of September. Okay, so Paul Skeens, by that point, will have made $10.8 million, which is his 2 years of salary plus the full signing bonus. By the time Stephon Risachet, who was the number 1 overall pick in the 24 NBA draft, by the time he gets to the end of his second season, he'll have made $25 million. And Caleb Williams, the number 1 pick in the 2024 NFL draft, by the end of his second season, will have made $28 million. So Paul Skeens, who is way better than the other 2 guys are at what they do, unless Caleb Williams comes out and all of a sudden he's
not better than Paul
Mahomes. Neither one is close to Skeens, and yet they make more than twice as much money. That's Major League Baseball's system. It's a garbage system. It's bad for competition in terms of markets that are smaller, having a legit chance to win a World Series, and it's bad for the vast majority of MLB players.
Will Manfred be able to pull it off against the union to get a salary cap, or are we going to see a lengthy strike?
I think we'll see a lengthy strike, and I think it could cost us the 2027 season. But for both sides, for the players that are not getting a fair deal now, and for the competition, the fans of Major League Baseball teams that want to have the same chance in MLB that they have in the NFL, NHL, NBA. They all believe on day one that they have a chance in the right circumstance to have a championship. They all have reason to believe that now in the three other sports. But in Major League Baseball, Scott, I mean, how long has it been since Pittsburgh legitimately thought on day one that they had a chance at a World Series?
Never.
It's 1992. It was so long ago. I went to Memphis, Cincinnati, and Indianapolis on my way back to Pittsburgh. I spent more than 30 years gone since they had a chance to win a series.
And Jim Leland was the manager. Is that right? I think he was. I think we lost Mike there for a second. That's highly unfortunate. Leland was the manager when they were good. That was with Bonilla and Bonds and Van Slyke and Doug Drabeck. And when they had success, the Pirates. Just so we're clear, the average salary is now, listen to this, the minimum salary, Mike Carver, is in baseball is $760,000 in Major League Baseball. And then you heard what he said, 10% of the players make 70% of the money in baseball. They make all the money. The super rich players, the high priced players like Soto, Ohtani, it goes on and on. The list of great players that make all this money. Bryce Harper is another one. But guys that are just the minimum salary, $760,000. I mean, that's almost as pathetic as the NHL salaries the minimum in the NHL is worse than that, isn't it?
I would have to look, but it's got to be pretty close. It's probably a little bit less, probably more in the 5 or 6 range, I would have to think. But, the one thing is baseball, you got to go in, how many more players do you have? You've got 26 a team. The NBA is the one I always go back to because it seems like the 7th and 8th guy on the bench is making pretty decent money, right? I mean, you're talking millions and millions for guys who don't even play there. But it is a little top heavy on the baseball side of things. And how they have to somehow.
Guys, $850 million on that Thunder team. And it made Mike DeCourcy so mad that it literally knocked him off the air today. Everything was fine. And then he started thinking about the last time the Pirates had a chance, and it sent him right off the edge, right off the air, right off everything. He's done.
It's a lot of things. MLBPA did that. But there's a lot of things. Exactly. It's
Tony Clark.
Skeens winning, Ozzie passing away. There's like a lot of things that just overloaded
shenanigans
and caused them to get knocked off there. There's
a lot of freaky stuff going on today. Mike, you're not going to bite the head off of a bat, are you?
Not today. I've done that in the past. I don't want to. That was quite the stunt he pulled when he bit the head off the bat.
Ozzie said he never knew that bat was alive. He never knew that it was actually a bat.
He might be hitting birdie putts, and he might be hitting eagle putts and putting up a 17 under at the moment. But the way he did it in the way he's doing it, who he's doing it against. I think that's a great point, that the level of competition, the folks he's doing it against, they all fall apart. Scotty's going and running away with it, but no one is keeping pace, and thus it becomes a boring competition. And maybe that's not Scotty's fault.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Paige Beckers, ready, folks, is a top 10 WNBA player right now. You ever heard of the band Gladys Knight and the Pips? Yeah, it's Paige Beckers and the Dallas Wings. That's what she's got. You know what that means? She's got nobody. Enrique Wumwale has been awful this year. I don't know if she wants to play there or not.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
You know, they still need Kelsey to beat Kelsey at times. I think they will baby him again. He won't be out there for 70, 80 plays. He's going to be out there for 55 plays, somewhere in that range here to keep him healthy as the season goes on here. So we have to keep that in mind as well. Plus the backup tight end there, he has some big games as well. So I think Kelsey is still very usable, but I think what you want to be careful about is you don't want to draft the name anymore.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Her ability to defend, shoot the three, rebound, pass the ball, and on a team that is awful. Right now, trending to get the #1 overall pick if they win the WNBA lottery. Possibly to draft her buddy AZ Fudd, maybe. But when you look at Paige Beckers is a top 10 player in the WNBA.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Luke actually has a spy cam on DeCourcy's yard, and he just told me that he saw DeCourcy slam the front door and go outside, and he was apparently, according to Luke, eating large handfuls of sunflower seeds and spitting them out like a baseball player in his yard at birds near a bird feeder. All I know is he was very upset when he started talking about the Pirates. It doesn't take me very long to get upset when I talk about the Pirates. So let's talk about something else, like the Blue Jays kicking the Yankees' ass. And we hit the bet last night. I actually had a ticket on that even money again. Nobody respects the Jays. They just keep winning. 11 straight at home, Mike.
11 straight at home, and they have now opened up a 4-game lead in the American League East after beating the Yankees again 4-1 up in Toronto last night. Once again, Sky, this has been a problem. I mean, I want to say all season, but seemingly a lot more recently. The Yankee defense, particularly in the infield, leaves a lot to be desired, and that includes Anthony Volpe at shortstop on the Yes Network.
Ground ball, Volpe. And a bad throw, and it's dropped by Goldschmidt, allowing Straw to score. The left side of the infield with 2 huge errors.
There you go. And then I know you have some Boone talking about his problems, no?
Well, I mean, I guess if you want to call it talking about his problems, or basically Aaron Boone trying to make it act like, everybody's stupid and that we're all nuts. This guy's fine. I mean, he's a great shortstop. He's just had a couple of bad plays. He's going to be fine.
What do you think it is then that has not allowed him to reach that consistency that he's had in the past?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a few extra errors. I get it. That's the separator of when he wins a Gold Glove and when he's not. He's still a top shortstop. He hasn't made a few plays that have generated a lot of noise.
There's also some metrics that have indicated he's taken a step back.
That's what, because he hasn't made 3 or 4 plays. That crushes you a little bit. He's still making a lot of rangy plays. He's still making a lot of plays. He just hasn't been as consistent as he has in his first 2 years, and that's 3 or 4 plays we're talking about. In a couple games here, he hasn't completed some plays, and it's changed his overall defensive season.
This guy will convince you your ugly girlfriend's hot. You know what I mean? Like this guy can sell cars. I mean, he'll turn a rainy day into sunshine faster than anybody. That's why the Yankees love him. Man, is he a PR man. I'll tell you what, he can make everything look rosy, right?
That's why he's got the job for stuff like that. He's
a front man. He's going to replace
He'll put down
Ozzy,
any
Black Sabbath.
He'll jump on any fire. That guy has been dreadful at shortstop this year. Dreadful. Volpe. He's played awful. He had an awful year. It just is what it is. Hitting, fielding. It's pathetic. And he's got to sit up there and try to sell you, it's a couple more errors. It's just a couple plays. It's just like when, he does the whole, it's right there in front of us routine. There's a lot of baseball. He does the same act all over and over again. It's so tiring. As I always like to say to you, they will never win with that manager. They will never win with that manager. I don't care how
you don't have to
how
sell
close
me,
they
bro.
came
Like,
last
you and
year.
I
I don't care how
same
close they
page.
came. They made the World Series last year. No, it doesn't. They're never winning with that manager. Never.
That was the most embarrassing World Series. I got to be honest with you. It was better losing to the Marlins. It really was. That was 6 games. This was 5.
Awful.
This was
Blue
worse than
Jays
the
is-
Marlins. Would you agree with that? This was worse. Now, I get
Last
it.
year,
the
the Dodgers
were like a better team.
Yeah.
But, that Marlins team was on fire with Beckett and company. They were on fire.
I know. It was still pretty embarrassing that they lost to the Marlins.
Not as bad. I'm
I'll
surprised
say-
they won a game last year.
Right. Well, and look, I think what bothers you about last year is they had game one, I should say. Game one, which was the game where then they came in and Freeman hit the walk-off homer. They should have won that game. Then they should have won. Then they should have won the clinching game where Judge couldn't catch a ball in the outfield and nobody could play defense that day. So what bothers you is that they had some games where they had winnable games in that series against the Dodgers. Very unfortunate. 11th straight win at home for the Blue Jays. That's a new franchise record. I mentioned the Yankees are now 4 games back in the division. That's their largest deficit since the end of 2023. And they are 1-10 their last 11 games versus Toronto and Boston. Well, that'll get you somewhere. Losing all the teams in your division.
What does that tell you?
That'll do it.
I mean, that writes the whole story right there.
Unbelievable. It really is. Meanwhile, on the other side of the spectrum, the Brewers beat the Mariners 6-0. As you mentioned, Kirby's Dream looked pretty good last night. And then 6-0 win for them. Then he did not. Brewers win their 11th in a row. They are now all alone in first place in the NL Central. And I'll take it even a step further. They now have the best record in baseball because the Tigers lost last night. So the Brewers, Scotty, really out of absolutely nowhere, suddenly have the best record in the major
they
leagues.
plug in this guy Woodruff, who'd been out with the shoulder.
Yeah.
And he's now pitching absolute dominating performances and shutting teams down twice now. He's come out and pitched and looked like, Whitey Ford. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Speaking of the Tigers losing, Pirates with a win. They actually held a lead for Skeens. They actually scored him a couple of runs.
No, they didn't.
3-0 win. Skeens 6
You're
innings,
lying.
3 hits, no runs, 6 Ks.
You're lying.
He's got a 1.38 in his last 13 starts. He's got a 1.94 in 44 career Major League Baseball games. Even Bednar can't give up any runs. He's got 20th straight appearance without allowing a run.
And then I'm watching a game last night, and my son was on a flight to London. So the one game they win in the last month that Skeens wins for the first time in 2 months, he's on a plane and missed the whole thing.
He might be hitting birdie putts, and he might be hitting eagle putts and putting up a 17 under at the moment. But the way he did it and the way he's doing it, who he's doing it against, I think that's a great point, that the level of competition, the folks he's doing it against, they all fall apart. Scotty's going and running away with it, but no one is keeping pace, and thus it becomes a boring competition. And maybe that's not Scotty's fault.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Paige Beckers, ready, folks, is a top 10 WNBA player right now. You ever heard of the band Gladys Knight and the Pips? Yeah, it's Paige Beckers and the Dallas Wings. That's what she's got. You know what that means? She's got nobody. Enrique Wumwale has been awful this year. I don't know if she wants to play there or not.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
They still need Kelsey to beat Kelsey at times. I think they will baby him again. He won't be out there for 70, 80 plays. He's going to be out there for 55 plays, somewhere in that range here to keep him healthy as the season goes on here. So we have to keep that in mind as well. Plus the backup tight end there, he has some big games as well. So I think Kelsey is still very usable, but I think what you want to be careful about is you don't want to draft the name anymore.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Her ability to defend, shoot the three, rebound, pass the ball, and on a team that is awful. Right now, trending to get the #1 overall pick if they win the WNBA lottery. Possibly to draft her buddy AZ Fudd, maybe. But when you look at Paige Beckers is a top 10 player in the WNBA.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
So I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but like you watch a lot of baseball or whatever. If you watch games of other markets, right? Like, so I'm watching this game in Seattle last night against the Brewers, and have you ever noticed? When you watch the games, they have all these sponsors on the behind home plate on these, just like hockey. They put these sponsors on these graphics that make you
digital
think
ads.
that they're. Yeah, you think they're on the wall, but they're not. They're just there, right? Last night, I'm watching this game, and for the first time ever that I can remember in my life, I never heard of one of the sponsors. Like, they had sponsors on there, and I was like, I have no idea what that is, or who that is, or where that is. And it was all night long. I was like, they had some casino that sponsors them, like I don't know what it was called, like McShoot or something. Like, I couldn't even believe it. There was ads of companies I'd never heard of in my life. It was like I was watching Korean baseball again during COVID. I had no clue what I was watching last night in Seattle. But I will say this: when it's nice there, which is rare, it's always raining there, right? Like, I've been to Seattle a bunch of times. It's always raining. It's like the London of the States, right? And yesterday was perfect, beautiful, not a cloud in the sky. You could see for 100 miles. And they showed that sunset on that water, at that ballpark, on that city, like going out to sea. I mean, it was really one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen, the sunset in Seattle. Because I've actually never seen the sun in Seattle. I've been there 15 times, and all I've seen is rain. But it was beautiful yesterday during that game. So I saw the sun, which I've never seen, and I saw like 50 sponsors I've never heard of. Not one of them. I know every sponsor in sports, but I didn't know one of them in Seattle. It really caught me off guard. I haven't been the same since. I may have a fever.
They say that it's a beautiful city when it's not raining. They say it's a beautiful city, but the problem is that it rains like 270 days out of the year, out of 365. So it's hard. You got to catch it on the right time to be able to go through with it. Mets beat the Angels 7-5 last night. So the Mets have won a couple games in a row here. Similar fashion, honestly, to Sunday. They come back. They're tied in the 8th inning, and they get a ball that doesn't even get out of the infield to give them the lead on SNY.
And Ronnie pulls one to third, grabbed on a hop, the throw home by Moncada, it gets away! Beatty scores, Alvarez will stop at third. Wow. And the Mets take the lead in the bottom of the 8th. Second straight day they've got a lead on an infield grounder in the 8th inning.
So your boy Alvarez came back from the minors. The fans love him.
Fans do love him. He reached base 3 times. He scored twice as he's back with the big club. Obviously, Soto had a huge hit to tie the game for them last night as well in that 8th inning. Third player since 1901. That was a very long time ago.
Think about
1901. To have 20-plus homers, 75-plus walks, 10-plus steals through the first 100 games of a team season. The only other 2 to do it besides him, Jimmy Fox in 1936, who seems to always come up when we do these now, and Babe Ruth in 1920. Ruth and Fox, the only other 2. Juan Soto now the 3rd this season with the Mets. Didn't make the All-Star.
I told you.
Game,
listen, the one of the greatest things I have in my life is a Jimmy Fox autograph.
You love that Jimmy
1938.
Fox,
Like
yeah.
honestly, like it's worth more than my existence on this earth. Jimmy Fox was one of the greatest players ever, and I can't even. Every time you say his name, I tell you the same story. I'm like, I have his autograph. I have Jimmy Fox's. I have the entire 38 American League All-Star team signed ball, and believe me, it ain't around the house.
No, it's not around the house. I just think it is crazy that's we do so many of these first player since this, first player since that. It really tells you how, he never really gets mentioned with all the great all-time greats of the game.
He doesn't even make the All-Star game.
He is. I mean, Fox. I'm gonna say Fox. I don't think he doesn't get Babe Ruth and Gehrig and Mays and Mantle and all. Like, this guy had some
Jimmy
ridiculous
Fox,
numbers
legend.
as well. But
Legend.
you're right about Soto. Soto, doesn't even make the All-Star game, and he's having a season like that.
That's how bad baseball is, and the baseball writers and the fans that they didn't vote this guy in.
Against him, I'm not surprised that he had no back down in his game, because he is a player that plays with confidence and swag, and it was really cool to see him get the job done, and the emotion at the 18th green with the interview with Amanda, especially for like a really kind of like Jersey boy.
Tough
Good to see a
Jersey
little
guy
emotion
with the gold necklace. You're like, oh, what's going on here? Yeah,
Sure.
that was super cool.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Her ability to defend, shoot the 3, rebound, pass the ball, and on a team that is awful. Right now, training to get the #1 overall pick if they win the WNBA lottery. Possibly to draft her buddy AZ Fudd, maybe. But when you look at Paige Beckers is a top 10 player in the WNBA.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Seiya Suzuki and Pete Crow Armstrong, this is the first time the Cubs have ever had 2 players reach 25 home runs before the team's 95th game. I thought that was a stunningly odd statistic that you would have just thought, well, the Cubs, storied franchise, all these big superstars that they've had, and even superstar tandems, they've never been this good, and they continue to be that, man. They are just continuing to hammer the baseball. Pete Crow Armstrong, what an incredible trade that's worked out to be for the Chicago Cubs.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
Shohei Ohtani can do something that nobody else in Major League Baseball can do. That means being maybe one of, if not the top 5 best hitters in baseball, and then go on the mound and throw some gems out here. Like, he threw 9 innings so far in his season, which isn't a lot, but that ERA is at 1. Are we saying that once he gets to 5 and 6 innings, that ERA is going to stay at 1? No, it isn't. But if it does, my goodness, I mean, just hand him the Cy Young on top of it as well. It's cheating.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.